Which is legendary underground status under the stage name X-Rated.
Anerae Brown is on parole, living in Oakland after serving 26 years for his part in a gangland murder. More than 2 decades ago, our own Juliet Goodrich covered his trial.
But today, as Night Beat's Joe Vasquez reports, he is out and he's making music again, trying to prove that he's a changed man.
Anerae Brown is free, and he's letting the world know it. It is quite a story. 26 years ago, Brown was the rapper X-Rated. In March of 1992, he and some fellow gang members broke into a home intent on killing 2 of their rivals. When a shadow emerged in the hallway, Anerae and 2 other young men opened fire. It turns out it wasn't the rival gang members, but their mother. 42-year-old Patricia Harris lay dead with a gunshot wound to her heart. Brown says he didn't kill her, but the murder weapon matched the ballistics of the gun pictured on his album cover. Prosecutors also played the jury the graphic lyrics of an X-Rated song.
I'm killing moms, daddy, and nephews. I'm killing sons, daughters, and sparing you.
In 1996, Anerae Brown was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 31 years in prison.
No one conspired to kill Mrs. Harris, but we conspired to harm those dudes. I was looking for them to do them harm. I meant them harm, and that's the truth. And that is something I have shame for.
While behind bars, X-Rated still managed to produce 12 albums, usually through a payphone. He served a total of 26 years and was recently paroled to a halfway house in Oakland.
It feels like love. I'm walking around, I can feel the breeze on my face, I can hear the birds.
Anerae Brown says prison changed him.
I'm on a new journey to be a responsible adult male who makes music and enjoys life, who doesn't want to harm anybody.
He's recording again and mentoring younger musicians.
It's like history in the making. Like today is a historic day in hip hop. Is to see him recording in a real studio, not over the phone. It's absolutely amazing.
He hopes one day to compensate the Harris family, even though he knows money can't bring her back. His new album, just released, is called The Execution of X-Rated. A freed, convicted murderer, Anerae Brown is killing off his old persona as he begins a new life on the outside. On the Night Beat, I'm Joe Vasquez.
Wow, what a story.
What a turnaround.
What a journey.
United Nations. Hug life, I'm home.
Yeah, I had people come around asking me if I needed help, and I'm trying to be humble, and I'm like, I'm all right, bro. Thank you, though. I really appreciate you. And they was like, it was gung-ho. And I feel that, like, they were gung-ho, but they were only gung-ho to be the helpers. And when they started seeing, like, the fast forward from September 14th to about the 24th of September, it was obvious, like, ooh, like, whoa, this cat is, what is he doing? Like, hey, man, I'm trying to get my stuff together. I don't live out here. This ain't where I was supposed to even parole to. I got this place out of necessity. If I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna be secure. You're gonna have to buzz in my building. You're gonna have to, all of that. Man, I'm not playing no games because
you can just run up in here.
This is cheaper than going back to prison because if my choices is to die or kill, I'm gonna make a couple intelligent decisions for my family straight up. So I'm like, I'm not about to be in that circumstance. I don't want to do that, and I can't afford to do that to Gavin Newsom. I can't do that to Jerry Brown. That man want to be president. But I look like causing drama where they could say, y'all let this cat came home on your watch. And look at him.
Because you got him in the custody waiting. Oh, and then when the success comes back, yeah, I was one of the guys that helped this young man change his life around. And so they want to take credit for it. So you actually, it's a political move likewise.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like the political move when they did Tookie. It was like, you know what I mean? They like had a show, Arnold was governor. Everybody was asking for the part and they didn't give it. You know what I mean? So it's like everything's a move. And like I told him, like even fresh out, we thinking, okay, we doing this. I'm doing what I'm doing. I feel it comes natural. But down the line, it might be a tap on the shoulder like, hey, man, you got all these people now, man. How about, so-and-so is, trying to do this and that. Can you say a little something? You know what I mean? It gets bigger than us. And once you gotta realize that it as it grows, certain people are already looking to slide up underneath you in a way that it's above and beyond what we can even imagine right now. You got to be prepared for it, man. When you're sitting up in there and there's like a, you know, $20,000 plate dinner and they invite you to show up and do a song, and you got these motherfuckers who's prosecutor judges and they're bumping you do a performance, they X-rated song, you looking like, God damn, I never thought I'd perform for these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And you having dinner next to this dude, and this dude's building a highway through here, and he's in partners with bed with this dude who's making this move.
Who's making this movie or
big
this
shit.
It happens fast.
Big shit, bro. Big shit. And
that's how I got home. That's what happened. I met Lau Menendez. I started working with. He was already doing youth mentor program. He was already the educated guy from something other than what we knew. Calabasas, Beverly Hills, went to Princeton, and saw me hanging with the homies and felt like, man, there got to be some type of reason why this cat is in this lane like this. Like, there got to be some type of reason why he behaving like that. And so he came to me and he said, hey, man, I've been watching you. Why you out here like that with these dudes? You're not like that. You different. You different. I was like, yeah, you know, I hear you, but this the block, period. So I'm outside hanging out with anybody, little homies getting high, they doing push-ups, they punching on people, they ain't got nothing going on. They just destructive gremlins. And I'm out there with them, and I got all this stuff happening in my life, but I'm just like the mascot for the idiots. And was one. And Lau called me on that. MTV come to the yard, like lighted up in the day room, lit the day room up to talk to me. Pretend to interview 4 or 5 people to interview me. Fox News coming. And all this stuff is happening. He's saying, hey man, I'm pulling up my beanie so they can see my diamonds. I got a big old black market chain on. And he's like, you don't have nothing to say to them? Nothing you think you want to say right now? And he was my neighbor, so, you know, I was listening to him because I respected him. I saw he had his girl. He was going to college. I knew that he came from something that I aspired to become. You know, and through his life circumstances ended up somewhere I was. And so I transferred and took heed to some of the lessons he tried to teach me. Years later, I ran into his brother, Eric Starr. He said, man, my brother love you, so do I. That's the end of it. And he taught me meditation, took me to meet the different people who were already on that, you know, who Beyond Mindfulness classes, had me read Beyond Mindfulness. It was him. And then he started saying, man, you got to go to these groups. Introduced me to who ultimately became my sponsor and all these different mentoring things. And that created, I met the warden because of them, the community resource manager because of the Menendez brothers. They was like, nah, you come with me. And like, you hitting the yard wrong, and then you get investigated because they want to know what you are and who you are, because you're being defined by people who don't care about. Exactly, they just telling them anything. And so I started doing what they said. I'm gonna go to this group. I'm gonna go to this function. And next thing you know, the Secretary of Corrections pull up. The warden walk in, and it's like, hey, how you doing, Mr. Brown? I'm just working, man. I've been hearing good stuff about you. I'll be like, whoa. So I had already seen the value of that. The chief of mental health sponsored my group. The chief of mental health, the boss of all the doctors' management and the doctors said, I believe in you. I'm like, if you could get somebody with a PhD, a master's parked with dust on it, because that's how hard she done climbed, and she sit down with you for a couple hours and say, hey man, everything he asked you for, give it to him. I was like, whoa. Whoa. So when it's time to go to board, that's the people that advocated for me.
Going to bat for you.
And so when you say it turns into these plates, it turns into these places, I've seen that happen in that environment, and it resulted in this right here.
Now just think about out here.
Yep.
How big it is out here. You, like you said, we were in an environment where it's X amount of people in a motherfucking closed little box. Out here, man, this shit, man. You saying something? This shit it's global. And now people can come out here and actually get at you who couldn't maybe get behind it or holler at you, and they're looking like, dude, this somebody we need to get at.
Yeah.
So then it gets big, you know, and it's just putting yourself out there. It's like when I'm always in LA, I'm always trying to go to different places, network with people, because you never know. That dude with the jeans, with the slippers on, he might be the head of Google. Yeah. Or, you know what I mean, or tied in with Apple or something, or he might be, you know, you never know who you're dealing with, man. So it's like you always want to be on point. And the same thing that guy told you about hanging out with them, an older white dude told me, an ex-Vietnam vet, he called me up one time and said, hey man, come here. I'm like, you know, third tier, I went up there. He's like, man, what are you going to law library for? I said, man, I'm just trying to learn, man. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way out of here or to get out early. He's like, man, I got something for you, man. Here, read this, read that. He gave me a bunch of legal stuff and stuff, man. Had my mind hurt, man. I was like, reading that shit, getting headaches, like, damn.
Yeah.
Crazy shit. It was just like overwhelming, man. Like voices in your head, you hearing this, like you set it down, you like look around.
Hear it in your dreams.
Oh man, talking to you. And then he pointed out, he's like, look at so-and-so. And he was down there doing some shit. Some other dudes, some other crazy, like, look at them. He said, man, you're not like them dudes down there, man. And I don't like, he wasn't saying like disrespectful, but like, dude, you have so much more.
Yeah.
He said, so I see you talking to them, but man, you bigger than that. And it kind of made me look, and I'm watching them, and you watch the dude, cause you just like, damn. You know what I mean? But it's the same thing out here, looking like, dude, you know you bigger than that. So people you think that, you know, to a degree, who you think is cool, you got to kind of step back sometimes and look like, oh man, they ain't really who I thought they were.
Yeah.
As you start seeing shit unfold, as you grow, as your fan base gets even larger and people see your platform, you start realizing like who's really true and who's really there because they thought they could somehow come up, you know? It's a trip, man. It's like you realize how many friends you really have, man. I'm like, fuck, man, it's sad, bro. A lot of these motherfuckers out here who ain't never been through the fire, who ain't never experienced nothing, it's like I can't really even fuck with them. I got to keep them at a distance. You know what I mean? It's like you got to, you know, and then you got people that you associate with because of maybe a common interest, but that's it. They're not intimate. You know what I mean? You can't let them in that inner circle. So it's like you got an inner circle of maybe a couple people, and everybody else, man, you got to throw them in an associate class.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just what it is, because they don't understand. You know, they're not cut like that. They weak, man. And they're not really. they cool, and they're good people, man. But they just ain't with the business as far as like when you talk about where you're looking to take your goals and your dreams to.
Truly. Yeah, I've seen that be true, man. I've experienced it. And I've experienced the part where people started asking for me to go back to that. Like, man, you know, this is the best thing you could do. Rap like this, dress like this, say that. They need you to start wilding, and people want this from you. And I'm like, why do I gotta listen to that? Like, why do I gotta listen to that? And I think there's a ceiling on it. I think you're gonna hit a ceiling projecting that ignorance, especially when you know you're doing it. There's a punishment in that. And it's only so high you can go.
You're right. You tap out.
Yeah, you tap out. And then people hitting that ceiling, now that they getting older, they starting to smack ceilings and they looking around because it's getting hard. How you gonna pay your bills?
Exactly.
You can't pay your bills with that idiocy anyway.
Exactly.
It's a lick, but once you hit that lick, it's not a repeat lick. You don't get to hit that lick over and over. Depending on who you are, hip hop will chew you up and spit you out. And so I'm like, man, if I told the truth, I can make it to Ellen. If I tell the truth, I can make it to Miss Winfrey. If I tell the truth, if I'm sincere. And I remember reading Tuki's book. And I noticed this in other books when I was researching what should I and should I not include when I write my book. And what I saw was there was a lot of effort to conceal the true pain of what it was like to be in prison. Because we wanted to convey, you know, I'm hard, I'm surviving it. This don't mean nothing to me. So there was a concealment of the pain, and then there was a ego where every chance there was to say, oh, this cat is such and such, but I'm wooty woot. That means that I still care. And as long as I still care about that and I'm willing to establish my ego about that, then I still got some of the cancer. And so it started making me look at what I wrote and say, if there's a moment of ego, it gotta go. Did I say that purely for my ego? I want that out. I did it in my songs. Is that there for my ego? Take it out. It need to be there because it meant something. Even the vulgarities, people like, he ain't cussing in his songs. It's every now and then they'll see it. It's an exclamation point. I don't need to use vulgarities for vocabulary. It's not the same thing.
You can still convey your message.
I can't convey the message with the energy and with vocabulary. Speak the words. I started studying Jay, and Jay would make it through a whole verse and be like, nigga. And I'll be like, That's the only.
Yeah.
If you clean that song, you take that one word, the whole song is clean. But his delivery was so raw that it didn't matter. And that one word made you feel like the whole thing was dirty.
And you know what threw people off
with my whole conversation.
What threw people off with Jay is then when he did this last album,
and he did the story of OJ, people were like, oh, I thought he was a sellout, but this nigga, he really ain't no sellout.
Nah.
He waited till he got to a position of power where he could actually talk how he wanted to talk about the subject matter and then put it out there about investing, about buying property in the hood, about how the Jews run shit. Either like put it out there, but I had to time it. You can't be premature in your actions to where you divulge yourself before it's time. It's all about infiltration. They did it in Africa. Yeah. They did it in the natives. Infiltration, man. They come, smile, sit down, and the whole time they learning all your secrets. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes time, they just eat you alive. And you're like, man, I thought it was cool. You gotta be the same way. You gotta slide in and just kind of like just play your move. Mm-hmm. Even though it's not like you're there to cause harm to begin with, but at the same time, you gotta know that you don't have to wear, like you said, your ego on your collar to let people know that's already spoken for. That's done. You ain't got to prove nothing no more. Like, you know, oh, back in the day, you ain't got to show that. It's already done. Yeah, people know that.
I was watching videos where the homie got a blue rag on his head with a hat on, staring at the camera, talking about, oh man, I can't tell you how that felt. I was watching that because I'm thinking, obviously I want to take care of my family. I'm gonna do that, and I got different measures that I know to take to do it and make sure that's done. And we made good decisions with real estate and things like that. My wife made very solid decisions coming from a very solid family that makes solid decisions. That's a tradition, and as a member of the family, that now becomes a part of my culture. And my tradition now is to make solid decisions. So in order to make solid decisions, I got to consider my options. Buffoonery, which I could consider that buffoonery.
Yeah, buffoonery, for real.
Especially if you 40 plus. I'm willing to let somebody knock on 35. I'm willing and say, you tripping, bro. But if you hit 40 plus and you got the rag on your head with a hat on and you talking to the camera about A, B, C, or D, especially in hip hop or any medium where you could project that, then tell a 16-year-old that that's an okay probable future, that's buffoonery. That's buffoonery. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. It's like when Dave Chappelle walked away from the 50 million, that's how I felt. I felt like in order to take this money, I'm gonna have to compromise my integrity because you're not laughing with me no more, you laughing at me.
Yeah.
And Dave Chappelle felt that.
You're trying to see how you can play me.
Yeah, you laughing at me now. And you laughing at us with me while you laugh at me, make fun of us. And when he said that, I was like, oh, how much of that are we doing in the culture in hip hop where we getting laughed at, and that might result in ratings and views and sales, but it's still you being laughed at. You're not being laughed with. Tekashi 6ix9ine being laughed at. He ain't being laughed with.
No,
they
exactly.
laughing at him and waiting for him to be killed and die.
Exactly.
And that's why I made For Your Entertainment, because it's a criticism. It's like saying our Gladiator, where Russell Crowe was like, are y'all entertained? You not entertained? They so shocked. And I'm saying I want hip hop to be so shocked. And I want to ask sarcastically, ain't that what y'all wanted?
Exactly.
Ain't that what y'all wanted? You want us to die? And FYE, For Your Entertainment.
For Your
Entertainment. They used to have a store. And they sold those CDs. Tupac died. Biggie died. They sold the music. Mac Dre died. They sold the music. Jacka died. And that was a little later. I think FYE was gone when we lost Jack. But 50 gets shot. They sold the music. And millions and tens of millions of dollars worth of that music that they benefited from off of our blood. So it's like the Roman Coliseum. At some point, our life, our art, and our loss of life became entertainment for other people. So much so that when Nas and Jay beefed, they said, that don't even count because nobody died. They had the nerve to say that.
Yeah, I remember that.
The media said that.
I know, that's sick, man.
That's deep. That's deep. Sick. So that means we ain't entertained because nobody died. The Coliseum wanted this vote.
Yeah, exactly. Cut it. Yeah, cut it. Yeah.
Come on, Jay.
You gonna let him? Come on now.
Come on, Jay. You weak. Woo, bull. And it's like, man, that was what he was supposed to do. So I don't know. I felt like there was a decision to make, and that decision had to be maturity. Age appropriate music is what my boy Yogi, we like to call it, age appropriate music. is there a market for me to be in my correct lane, express my correct understanding of where my life is and where it's going? Is there a lane for me to do that successfully? And what's the ceiling on that? And does that living allow me not to compromise my integrity? And the answers are unequivocally yes. And so now it become everybody else is a willingness issue. And that's why I wrote Second Class Citizen. Like you say, all these people making it to these other levels, and Jay started exposing, but I say you black and you rich and you still a nigga.
Still a nigga. He said it too.
Yeah, he said it.
He said it too, man.
And look, you know, it's a lot of people we can name, you know, that they went at, and we could say what the reasons were when they didn't go at others like that. Harvey Weinstein didn't get pursued the way Bill Cosby got pursued.
That's right.
But they accused of the same thing, and one of them's in prison, and the other
even Charlie Sheen. I mean, that's why we, like I said, we gotta at the same time, it's like a duty for us to like lace each other up and to, you know, to perceive things. And if I see something I feel that's gonna, you know, positively contribute to you, it's my duty to share. That's how I feel.
Me too.
Like, you know, why not? Because I feel that there's so little of us as far as the ones who have been through the fire, and then there's the ones who have got up in there, but they see us and they kind of scared, so they don't want to let us even get a foothold in there. Mm-hmm. So we almost gotta like take it because of just how things are set up. You know, it's like almost like you said, the house nigga, the field nigga. You know, which one are they gonna let us either come up in there based on our background, or are they intimidated because they're afraid to let us get up in there because they know what we're capable of? Mm-hmm. They see it maybe more than we see it.
It seems that way because the reason you can know they see it more than we do is the persistence of the shoving down, the resistance, the persistence of the resistance. We in 2018 and they still knocking people down at traffic stops. They still worried about the dude. If he, let me see your hand, grab your ID, but let me see your hand.
Exactly.
I can't do both of those, sir.
Yeah.
So you want the ID or you want to see my hands? Which one of them you need in your life? Like, let me know before I reach for anything. Mm-hmm. Like, this is 2018. And these standards exist still because that's the way they go about demonstrating the resistance. We're gonna hold your ass down. When it comes for where you can live if you don't got the right kind of money, when it comes to what the quality of your education is based on your zip code, when it comes to what your ability to vote is based on your zip code, all of that is a part of the way that they demonstrate the weight they pushing on the people. And the funny thing is that it has no color. If it does, it's green.
No, it's green. It's like
zero.
Yeah.
It's people, either you have it or you don't.
Yeah.
And then when you get it, you see the resistance on how you utilize it or not utilize it. And that's what I feel like Jay been communicating. He got that high only to find out he wasn't welcome there. And so it didn't matter how much money he had. And then even there, now what do you do with that money? And I'm like, I aspire to hit in that realm, in that reality, even near it is fine with me. And I feel like I'm being warned about what my expectations need to be on my way there. He said, inside of Decoded, and this got me through some shit. In 2012, after I changed my life, they threw me in a dungeon and said that I was conspiring to assault a peace officer. Then they said I had conspired to commit unlawful influence, bribing an officer. Bribery of a peace officer. Charged me with that. Read me my rights. I'm about to go to board and everything. And the officers in the paperwork saying I never spoke to Mr. Brown. I never spoke to him. So they have one investigator attempting to get an officer to talk to me about something, and the officer telling the investigator that wasn't possible. Mr. Brown's not willing to talk. He's not. I had no engagement with Mr. Brown. To the investigator, but he won't let it go. Throw me in the hole. I done changed my whole life. I'm running around having the homies doing everything they supposed to do. I fed a whole building. Everybody in the building got something to eat. Hey man, you hungry? Please be honest. Yes, here, man. Every single person in the building ate. And then other people saw that and was like, oh, hey man, you need anything to finish what you're doing? So these brothers, like we say, we ain't the only ones. These brothers start coming out their pocket too to make sure I have more food. And I fed so many people, I didn't get to eat. And then other brothers gave me food. Here, man, I saw what you did. That was G. Here, this is for you. They fed me because I gave mine away. They locked me up anyway, got me sitting in that dungeon, and I'm going through it like, what the fuck can I do to make these people just let me be and respect what I'm doing? I'm reading Decoded. Wifey sent me Decoded. Jay-Z say, nigga, they don't want you to get your life together. It was after they arrest. He done sold 5-6 million copies of Hard Knock Life. Volume 3 is out. And they arrested him and paraded him in front of the jail and locked him up just real quick and threw a press conference for it because his bodyguard had a gun that he's supposed to have. And he said that was when he knew that they didn't care if he got his life together. It didn't matter because that wasn't what they wanted. And so let go of that expectation. That was when I figured out I wasn't gonna get an attaboy. I was like, oh, I cut it out the book and put it on the wall in my cell and use that. They don't want you to get your life together. To remember that if I encountered resistance, to not take that personally, because it had nothing to do with me and everything to do with me. Nothing to do with me and everything to do with me. And then to be more grateful for the assistance that I did receive. So when I encountered the assistance, I was, thank you very, and it was always a story. My nephew is locked up. I know what this is like. I wish he could have had this kind of help. Unfortunately, he committed. I started getting him stories from psychologists, from educators, from sponsors, and I'm like, okay, and they looked brown, they was black, they was white, poor white people who educated themselves and got a little $80,000 job. And now their kids can go to school. They doing better, but they still remember they came from a trailer park. And struggled their way to a university. And so they see me, and my cell was the equivalent of their trailer park. And they was like, hey, this is what you need to do. I typed this up for you, put that in your file. I got a meeting Friday. Can you come to it? Yeah, come to the meeting, speak. Monday morning, I get a whole rundown of what I did there. I'm like, oh, fighting for me, whooping my file to get me out of prison systematically. So I started understanding that it's tricky, the they and the them, and somebody with a biracial child, I understand, like, who the hell are the they? And what have they been about? The John Brown thing. Like, there's those of us who have been pitted against each other because of the economic advantages of not having us recognize that there's a common enemy. Like, who owned the plantation? Why should I be upset at everybody else? And like, we all working for this same cat.
Same, yeah, exactly.
So they say, we gonna put you in charge of this part and put you in charge of these people. And that in charge of these people is where the segregation happened. So you are running the fields, but they running for the same person that everybody else. We all working for that same cat, and put enough people between us.
That separates the classes right there.
It separates
because now you don't like him or me because you right here by the door watching us. So now that puts you at a different position.
Yep.
So it's really, they don't trick you into thinking that I'm your enemy now.
Yep. Strictly so that they can maintain a buffer between themselves and the people when it went bad.
And it's funny because even talking, like, we did an interview with Gangsta from Compton, who's like an OG Crip, and he talked about how he's bamboozled, but it's almost like to flip that into the 21st century is when the Crip and Blood, and basically throwing that in there to now I hate you.
Yeah.
Because I used to think about, like, it wasn't nothing for me to be in Sac and last nigga from the house, nigga, what's cracking?
Yeah.
Nigga, this is no problem. And you just on site. You didn't even know that dude, but I had so much hatred and ready to take off or whatever the case may be. And it's like you were programmed, and that program lasts for a duration until you can figure out how to delete it. And the only way you can delete it, it's a lot of shit that goes with the deletion. But it's like, that's what they implemented, and we just followed right into it. And there's little things, you ain't got to go out right and say it, but there's little things we can put in play, and there's little places in the neighborhoods to make it all just take its course. It just takes its course. Just put it out there. They'll pick it up.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Leave that crate of guns over here. Leave that rag over here. Go to the liquor store. They only sell 2 kinds of rags.
Yeah.
You know, but have this color on this liquor store and have this color over here, and gradually it just happened. Watch, we did it before, and it just happens.
Yep.
It happens, man. They got guns. Oh man, ooh, yep. And they just, for no reason, they didn't even know. These guys could have been playing Pop Warner football together, but they kill each other.
Most of them were high school together. In Compton, you go to Dominguez. What school you gonna go to? The 10. So they either went to the 10 or they went to Dominguez. No matter what, they all went to school together. One school was dominated by one thing, one school was dominated by another, but they all went to the, they was all out there.
Yeah,
well, Richard Sherman went to where'd he go? I think he didn't go to the 10, he went to Dominguez, end up at Stanford. And anybody that talked to him, he'll tell him, yeah, these was the choices I had. So he educated himself. Yeah. But that story is not out there.
No, they ain't pushing it like everything else, no.
And then they make him look like a bad guy because he's a threat with his intelligence. This brother used his brain to get out of Compton. Now there's nothing else. Used his brain. He didn't get to Stanford because he played football, bro. That ain't what they really do.
His GPA was like a 4 point something.
Exactly.
So they don't want to mention all that. Oh, he didn't want to come to the press conference doing this, so they make up. You like, what you put that out there for? What about all the other stuff he did? Just like Marshawn Lynch. They want to talk all that shit, but they ain't talking about all the stuff he doing for the community.
Nah, they don't talk about that. And the brother's store is right down here, so Marshawn be walking down the street all the time. I see him and he give me dab, give me a hug. I tell him I love everything you stand for. I rock his gear. You know what I mean? I shot my videos in his gear because I just love him and I love what he stand for. And all these people, they in my phone. You know what I mean? The whole little lynch mob, they hollering everywhere I see them. I think we just saw one of them at the DMV yesterday. Saw another one, like they just hollering when they see it. You know, and I appreciate that. And it's the same thing. The brother get abused because they don't want that message to be the known message. They don't want that to be the known message. It's better that he look like a bad guy that they can demonize, vilify. Yeah, and that's the strategy. I'm gonna eliminate your heroes, and I'm gonna replace your real heroes with fake heroes, and give you something else to idolize and aspire to. And I got you. Then I'm gonna create an economy based off of capturing and punishing you for exhibiting this behavior that I just stimulated.
Exactly. I'll put a visual out there and you got to just follow it.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
And I'm going to pay him $90,000, $100,000 a year to chase you down and bring you to me and watch you. And there's the economy. And California's economy is based on the existence of crime. And if we go to more darker areas, Washington, D.C.
Florida, prison state. Louisiana, prison state.
Michigan,
crazy sentences.
Ohio.
Yeah.
It's predicated on
on behavior.
In Pennsylvania, they're getting better, but it's the same problem. It's predicated on the existence of crime. At the end of the day, if we get into it, the economy requires the existence of crime. New York City, if you talk about the amount of police in that town, in that city, just that county, and the city itself, they require the existence of crime for their economy. The officers go to what stores for lunch? The officers go where to purchase gifts for their kids. There's so many of them that the loss of them as a workforce would literally cripple New York's economy. And the only way to excuse maintaining that number of them is for there to be crime.
Remember, those police officers saying that we were pressured to make so many, we had a quota. Yeah. It didn't matter if you were doing nothing wrong. We just needed to come up with something in order to make the quota to sustain the department.
Yeah, we went through that in the pen. Everybody knows that during the time of inspection and their audits, they gonna write you up for anything. And you got people with life sentences who are about to go to board and be granted parole or who have been granted parole, and they would write them up. He got a sheet in the window, he got a towel in the window. I got wrote up for a towel in the window because somebody was trying to sleep and the building was facing the east. I'm on the phone with my wife, an officer go off about it, write the whole pod up. Everybody just do a scattergun. All y'all guilty of putting that towel in the window. And so now you can't tell on him. So you gotta wait. Is this brother about to say, cause I got a life. So now it's, hey man, if that dude don't tell them that he actually put that up there, we gonna kill him. You going home. I feed a lot of people. So it's like, if he don't tell it, so now I got that on my brain, like, damn, I don't need y'all getting in trouble. It's gonna work out. All this stuff gotta happen for them to figure out, hey man, Brown was on the phone at 2:30. It's cleared through the computer system. So he couldn't have been responsible for that. He on the phone for 15 minutes at that exact time. That was the only reason that guy took off of me, and that would have put a life sentence back on me. So the whole time I'm waiting to come home until September 14th, that's what I'm dealing with every day. And the reason was they had a quota. Nothing to do with me, nothing to do with you. Hey, write him up for everything. It was a mandate. If he got an apple and he walk out the kitchen, write him up. That's a life sentence because he hungry, man. He didn't finish his food. He took his apple out. He just hungry. He ain't getting no packages, nothing. Write him up. I'm like, oh, wait. But to meet a quota, because they get dollars for a certain amount of trouble that exists in the environment. They get hazard pay for certain things. So they have to create the existence of this many RVRs, rule violations are happening in our environment. And
if it's too peaceful, it's not beneficial.
And they cut the staff population.
I tell people all the time, they're like, what about, this and that? Because it'd be a cool little facility, and okay, bring in this dude from the North Daniels and bring in this dude. We know it's going to kick off now, because this is a Serengo spot. And then eventually, it's going to happen, because they're going to say something to them, and now we can justify putting up extra barbed wire, getting rid of this program, doing this, doing that. It's all a game, man, and it's like they experimented with that, and then they can take the same principles and do it out here in the community. Well, this neighborhood look like it's cleaning up. Well, maybe we need to add this over here to get it a little bit more riled up, because we can't have this, otherwise they're going to start laying people off over here. That's crazy, man. It's a big picture, man, but when you can kind of take a step back and see it, it makes more sense, and now you're not as mad at it, because you know this is what they're doing. But we don't understand it. It's frustrating, because you're like, man, it don't make, why is this happening? Why are they doing this? It's bigger than that, though.
I would rather be on own now, whoa, doing everything right, cause I got sick and tired of doing it all wrong now, hey, say this is just combo, bro, this is more than a song now, whoa, hey, this is who we are, from my head to my toes, to my flesh and my bones now, turn up, if he's a better than me, then you can let it compete, now, don't interrupt them, you can let it repeat, this week chorus floors, you can let it repeat, element to be minded and look at receipts. Don't interrupt, but let a veteran speak, and don't worry, his career begin the week, cause I exit the pen and I get in the streets, and don't cry for me, won't lose no sleep, hey, after me, they got to me, I say, yeah, woo, woo.
Lockdown's over. Get your yard time in. Exclusively at FreshOutSeries.com.